Hello, Backyard Pizzaioli. It's Paul from Bitonto Pizza. And today I'm really excited because we're going to do something I've wanted to do for a long time. Try out 4 different kinds of flour and compare them. We're going to use the same recipe for each one. We're going to make Polish, and tomorrow we're going to cook the pizzas and we're going to see how they go. So let's talk a minute about the different types of flour. In Italy, there are 5 types of flour. There's 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, and what they call integrale, or whole wheat flour. There's another type of flour designation that they're using now. I don't know if it's official, but you'll see it called Manitoba. And that refers to the province in Canada where supposedly the wheat is grown. And that wheat is very hard wheat, and it has special properties because of the way that the temperature affects the growth of the wheat up there. This Bob's Red Mill, I think, is what they call, a hard red wheat. I believe that's the type of flour that we're referring to. And so it's going to be similar to the Italian Manitoba flour. It has a very high protein content of about 14%. My 2 0 flours, they both came in at about 12.5%. Now, the King Arthur flour is my estimation of the 12.5%. It may actually be a little bit closer to 12. They don't really measure it. They don't do that same kind of measurement here, and the strength is unknown. They just don't measure this flour's strength. So I don't know, even though these 2 types of flour are both 0, 0, I don't know if they're the same type of flour really or not. There may be some differences. The Kroger flour, we have no idea. I'm assuming, given the low protein content, that it's probably a relatively weak flour. We'll find out. This is probably less than 180. To make good pizza, the number you're looking for is higher than 250, between 250 and 350. This may actually be my highest flour. You'll also notice we have a wide variety of prices. I translated their prices into per kilo, so this is US dollars per kilo. The Bob's Red Mill is $2.18 per kilo. The King Arthur flour is the most expensive. It's about $4.63 per kilo. The Caputo, which I buy in the big bag, is $1.63 per kilo. And then there's the Kroger flour, which is only 66 cents per kilo. We've got some other information on these flours that's really important. I'm going to start with the Mulino Caputo, which is the only imported flour from Italy here that is actually measured per the Italian system. Why are we using the Italian system? Well, obviously pizza dough comes from Italy and Naples. Part of the grading system actually speaks to pizza flour. It's a special type. It's called 0, 0. So what does 0, 0 mean? 0, 0 refers to the amount of ash if you burn a certain amount of flour. The other measurement is the W measurement, which stands for the strength of the dough. This Caputo, which I use, has a strength of about 260 to 270, and that's what's called the W rating. The other flours don't really measure in the same way. One of the properties of a long levitation flour is how much water it can absorb into the flour, because I'm going to make a hydration of about 65%. That means I'm going to have 65% as much water as I have flour. And these 2 flours should have no trouble handling that. This flour I'm concerned about may not make that high. If you're making pizza in a home oven, you're going to go even higher than that. You will not want to do a long levitation process with this. The red mill flour, this one is the wild card, and we're going to see what happens to this. I'm really very interested to see how this particular flour performs. Just a note on the leavening and baking process that we're going to use today. So I'm going to make a ½ kilo in terms of flour of each of these, and that's going to come with a 60% hydration of the dough. So tonight, to make the Polish, I'm just going to do 200 grams of water, 200 grams of flour of each one of these. I'm going to leave the flour out for an hour, and then I'm going to put them all in the refrigerator where they're going to stay for about 16, 17 hours. And then tomorrow we're gonna take them out, we're gonna complete the process. If you haven't made dough from Polish, I have a great video on this. So let's get started and see how this goes. The first part of the process is over. We've made Polish, which is just mixing 200 grams of water with yeast and honey in it, with 200 grams of flour for each of our different kinds of flours. And I've already started noticing some interesting differences between the flours. This whole wheat flour from Bob's Red Mill, what I think is close to Manitoba, because it's this hard red wheat, has really absorbed it all. It's not liquid at all. It's like, it's already almost dough-like. So this dough might be a little difficult to work with tomorrow. We'll see how it works out. And maybe to work with this kind of dough, I really should go with a higher hydration. We'll find out in the morning. The Caputo flour is normal. I would say this is the last one I made, so it's the last one to start fermenting. It's not bubbly at all yet, but hopefully by the morning we'll see. Actually, we're going to leave it out about an hour, so we should get a nice kind of bubbly mixture before it goes into the refrigerator. Won't be too bubbly, but a little bit. The King Arthur flour, on the other hand, is very, very soupy. I'm kind of wondering if this even actually makes the standard in terms of the amount of protein in the flour. We'll have to see how this one goes, but it's kind of a soupy mix. The Gold Bond flour is probably the one that's most like the Caputo. It's a little more solid, I'd say. Not quite as runny as the Caputo. Not that the Caputo is runny, but it's kind of sort of between the Caputo and the red, although a lot closer to the Caputo than Bob's Red Mill flour. That's where we stand right now. We'll see what happens in an hour, and I'll get you some more close-ups. After an hour, taking another look at the dough, the whole wheat flour from Bob's Red Mill. It's really grown and almost looks, solid, already like a dough, whereas the others are like batter. This is what I'm used to after about an hour. This is the Mulino Caputo. And you can see that it's got quite a bit of fermentation just starting, lots of bubbles in it. Same thing with the all-purpose flour, but I don't know if you can tell from the video, but it's shinier. Looks kind of a little different, a little bit more like a batter. And the King Arthur flour is kind of similar to the general purpose flour. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning, and this is the day of our pizza. Looking at what happened overnight, everything fermented, but here's why I'm a little nervous. The King Arthur flour, which is this one here, is looking pretty good, but it and the Kroger flour are a little more bubbly, a little more liquid than I really like. The Mulino Caputo flour, which is the one I always use, it's looking great. I know how to use this, but I think these three are gonna work out okay. It's this Bob's Red Wheat flour. Now this is actually not liquid at all. It's very solid. And so when I make the rest of the dough with this is gonna be either hard to work with, it's not gonna want to stretch, so I may have to use some different stretching techniques, but I'm gonna call an audible now, and I'm gonna vary the recipe here. I'm gonna make this 100% hydration. We have all our other measurements, but I noticed the flours seem to have kind of a different feel to them, and I'm wondering if the density of the flours is different. To measure the density of the flour, I'm gonna take a measuring cup, which I know the volume of. I'm gonna convert that to milliliters, and then check the weight of the flour and convert it to grams per liter. These are going to go back in the refrigerator because they've only been in for 11 hours. I need them to sit in there for about 5 more hours. So about 12:30, 1 o'clock today, I'm going to pull these back out and we're going to take a look at them.
King Arthur, Mulino Caputo, Kroger, and here's the Bob's Red Mill.
Pulled all of the Polish out of the refrigerator, and as you can see from the close-up, we have some really good bubbly stuff that looks like Polish. In about an hour, when this cools down, then we'll actually see how good it is to work with. So we're getting ready, and we'll take our next step in 1 hour when we blend in the other ingredients, the flour, the additional water, and the salt. We'll be using an additional 300 grams of flour. We'll be using an additional 150 grams or so of water, and then 25 grams of salt for each batch. It's been an hour now. You can really smell the fermentation of this dough. It's now time to work the Polish, add the other ingredients in, and then we're going to let it rest for 15 minutes. We're going to knead it, and then we're going to let it sit for another hour, and then after that we're going to make the dough balls and let it sit for 2 hours after that. Here I'm performing the second step of the Polish for each of the flours. The King Arthur flour was great to work with, very, very light and airy, as was the Mulino Caputo. The Kroger flour was a little bit heavier, and you could feel it stretching. It didn't get quite as smooth on the outside. Finally, Bob's Red Mill flour was about like stretching a wet blanket. And I've been letting the dough sit for about 15 minutes. Then I'm gonna knead it a little bit, and then we're gonna try to make it smooth on the outside, and we're gonna put it back in the proofing container, and we're gonna let it rest there for an hour. After that hour, we make the dough balls, and then it's 2 hours to pizza time. The King Arthur flour was great to work with. It's very, very airy. It had a lot of air in it at this point. And the flour itself is very highly refined, very, very powdery, very, very fluffy. I think you can tell already at this point that the pizzas it makes are gonna be great. The Kroger flour, on the other hand, was a little bit heavier, a little bit harder. You could tell that it just does not have the same protein chains as the King Arthur 00 flour. The Caputo flour was great, smooth and airy, just like a 00 flour should be, and I could tell that the ball came out extremely smooth. Gonna have some great pizzas with that. The Bob's Red Mill flour, on the other hand, was a little more difficult to work with. Oh. Wow. Look at that. Oh my gosh. This thing's like a freaking drum. We're actually gonna do these last because we needed them last. But we're gonna make the dough balls now for the others. Let's take a look at this. Wow. Like a drum. Lots of air in there. Looks like the Kroger flour actually has more air than the King Arthur flour, which is a little bit surprising, gotta be honest. So, let's get this out of here. So the Caputo flour, as usual, this is super light. Super, super light. Try to King Arthur dough. Right down here. You get 2 cuts. This is very, very light. This is what I'm used to with the Caputo.
I'm recording, but YouTube does. Case.
Like it, I'll edit it out.
Pizza. Oh.
All right, so here's a Caputo flour, crunchy and soft. Look at that. So soft. Lots of eggs. This one here is the Gold Bond.
Okay.
Which is the regular. It just doesn't work. Like the edge is not airy. King Arthur, soft and crunchy. So yeah, this is a good 00 flour. As usual, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It means a lot to me if you can subscribe to this video. Any comments you have, I'd love to read them. You look down in the comments of my other videos and see that I really do reply to pretty much everything everybody says. Another good reason to visit the comment section is just to read what other people are saying. There's quite a good conversation going down there about making pizza, pizza ovens, and pizza oven decisions. So whatever you do, please subscribe, hit that like button, and I look forward to seeing you on my other videos.